Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. I'm doing this episode as a tribute to my younger brother Chris. Chris passed away last December. So, for what I wanted to do for him is I wanted to get his game gear fixed. Now, Chris was a pretty big gamer, just like me. Loved Sega. Sonic was his all-time favorite game. He was also a Twitch streamer, which he had a pretty good following on there. So, for this, I'm going to try to get this game gear of his up and running. Hopefully we can do that. It's got some pretty bad corrosion. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for coming back to Shane's Soldering Station. Like I mentioned in the intro, today's episode is a special one. I'm going to be recapping my brother's game gear. It kind of conked out quite a few years ago, got packed up and then forgot about. He always did want to get it fixed, so I'm going to be taking care of that for him today as a tribute. I'm going to be doing a complete recap on it. I'm also going to be putting a new front glass bezel on it, adding a rechargeable battery packs to it, and replacing the audio board. All this stuff is coming from Retro 6, which they're really awesome. If you need parts for your stuff, go check them out. So let's get it on the teardown table and get started. Alright, so we got the game gear down here on the teardown table. So I've got 4 screws and then a game bit. And then I'm pretty sure we are going to have a screw or 2 underneath the batteries. So let's get that out. I've got a new piece of equipment to use for this stuff. I've got a Fantic Nex E2 Ultra cordless screwdriver. I saw them recommend this on Tronics Fix, so I'm ready to try this bad boy out. It's really cool. You can adjust the different torque settings on there, which is really nice. Cool little cylinder. You pull this out, and we got our different bits, and then this guy kind of rotates, so got plenty of different bits on here. We are going to go with, though, a Phillips head number 1. Put that guy in here, and what's neat is you can actually adjust right here. Is kind of get, if I can get it in the shot here, it's probably not going to want to focus, but the little dots here, we can turn it on, and that'll give us our different torques, and it can go up quite a ways. You can see like the little light here as I adjust the different torque settings here. We're not going to need too much to get these screws out, so let's get at it here. Alright, it does not have a game bit for it, so I have to get my fix it out for that. Alright, so we got those up. I'm going to set that aside. It's, I have a feeling this is going to be bad news here. Oh yeah. Yep. That is horrible. Horrible. Oh, whew. Yeah, that is not a good thing. We're going to have to pop those out of there. I'm going to grab this just to kind of... Alright, yep. Got 2 more screws right here to get out. Let's pop those. Alright, that's all the screws. This thing should pop apart. Yep, there we go. Just like that. Alright. Got some oh boy. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. Alright, let me get this stuff disconnected here. those, we're going to disconnect them from the power board and the audio board here. That's right. There we go, just like that. Just like that. And this little guy, not want to ruin him. There we go. All right. Whew, that is not looking good there. Them batteries really did a number on that case. All of this is just corrosion. That really destroyed that plastic. Well, I'm gonna see if I can get that as cleaned up as best I can. Get it looking nice again. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I can even repaint it. Maybe. That's a big maybe. But we'll see. We'll see after I get everything apart here. So I can set this part aside here. Now we got to get the motherboard out of here. And we got a few screws for that. Alright. Might need, yep. Gonna need a smaller, let's grab the Phillips Zero. That should, yep, that should do it. Alright, our board's free. Boy, man, that really, that leaking batteries really did a number on that. Look at that. Alright, so keep that in mind. If you're gonna put your game console away for a while, take the batteries out. Save yourself a lot of trouble. Let the screen sit there. Alright. Get a better look at everything here. Alright, there is just a bunch of corrosion everywhere. Especially right down here on this chip. I will, I'll crop that up so you can get a better look at that. Hopefully that isn't too badly damaged and eaten through. If it is, going to be pretty much SOL on everything else, but we'll see. Hopefully not. So we got her out, got the motherboard all out here, so we're going to get back over by the soldering station. We'll get her under the microscope, check everything out, take a look at that chip, see what's going on with that, and make sure everything else is good to go. Back in a second. Alright, we got the motherboard out. We got her over here on the soldering counter. Unfortunately, my brother leaving those batteries in there when he stored the Game Gear definitely caused some havoc on the board. We're going to see that in a second when we go to the microscope. I'm going to let you know what's going on here, though. Like I got these. We got 1, 10, and 100 microfarad capacitors to replace these. The kit does come with power board capacitors. I'm not going to be using those because I'm going to be replacing that with this guy. It is the Clean Power mod. Comes with the rechargeable batteries and the power board. And also I'm going to be replacing the soundboard and adding this mod. It's the Clean Amp mod from Retro 6. So if you want to go check those out, I will leave links in the description so you can go check that out if you want for yourself. Alright, so now let's get down to the microscope here because you're not going to believe what you're going to see here. Alright, I mean, just check this out. This is not looking good. Hopefully this cleans off. We don't know the damage that's going to go on there yet. We got one of our capacitors right here that's got to be replaced. Another one right here. We got 2 more right here, 2 more right here, and then 1 more up here. And that takes care of that side of the board. Over here, we've got these two here. And then one down there. And yeah, that is it for this side of the board. So, not too many to replace. It won't take too long to do. But I gotta get that straight. There we go. So let's clean this up. Grab my toothbrush. I'm gonna dip it in some IPA. Let's hopefully this cleans off here. Alright. Be happy if that is some. Man, that is some nasty. I'm gonna have to get a pick. I'm gonna have to get a pick for this. Alright. I've got, yeah. That one will do. I don't want to be too rough. But we gotta get that corrosion out of here. Oh no! That's wow, that just happened. It just happened, folks. The corrosion completely ate the chip off the board. Wow. That is insane. Alright. Alright. Not dire yet. I'm going to get the rest of these pins cleaned off this chip. And then I'm going to get the board, get this all cleaned off, and see what we got to work with here. Hopefully these traces aren't totally destroyed. Because, yeah, boy, oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, let's get down to it. Alright, so we got most of the chip kind of cleaned. I'm going to go over it a little bit better. Because there's still some corrosion on those pins that I got to get off. But now, let's take a look at the board. Oh, excuse me as I pop out of frame there. Yeah. Hopefully the damage is fixable. I'm kind of scared, but that is not looking pretty. Not looking pretty at all. Let's give her a scrub with the toothbrush and see what it does. Oh, look at that. Ate that. I don't even have to remove that one. It just got removed. Alright, so after doing some looking and some testing out some stuff off camera, after the chip popped off and I got it all cleaned up here, well, good news, this guy right here is going to save the day. Hopefully. As long as the chip's still good, we're in good shape. I'm going to slowly and painstakingly got to sit and scratch all the corrosion off all these pads. So that's going to take a minute. So I'm going to do a couple pads and then speed the process up so you don't get bored to sticks. So let's get to it. All right, we got them cleaner. Not perfect yet, but they're looking good. So there's definitely signs of life that these pads are still going to be good, and hopefully if the chip is still good, we can get it resoldered down to the board. I'm not worried about where the capacitor was. If any of them pads are damaged, that's an easy fix for those. But that chip, boy, that was the one I was worried about. And the pads, well, they're cleaning up nicely. It's going to take a little bit more work, get the other side of them done, and then we'll be back, see if we can solder that chip back on. All right, so after some painstaking work with a pick and then scraping at all these pads here, got the chip all cleaned up, all the corrosion off these pins. They're all nice and shiny. I did a lot of tedious, gentle scraping and got these pads pretty clean. That's probably about as clean as I'm going to be able to get them without actually having to work harder and destroying them. So now we can actually get down to taking these capacitors off and get the new ones on. Then I'm going to have to solder that chip back on. So we got a little bit of work to do, so let's get down to it. And you're going to hear my fume extractor running. Don't worry about that. I've got the schematic up from Retro 6 where the capacitors all got to go. You might be able to kind of see it here in the screen. I'll flash a picture up on the screen so you can at least get a good look at it. All right, so I'm gonna fire up my soldering irons here. That one's on standby. That's ready to go. All right, put the chip somewhere where it will be out of the way. Do not need to lose that. So I'm gonna start on this side actually. There, got these two here. These should be relatively easy. This one I will actually use my pencil. Actually, both of them. I'll break out my pencil iron for that because we definitely got some tight spaces there. And I've done these before, and getting my big iron in there to get those out is kind of a pain. So, want to make it a little bit easier if you can, right? All right. A little bit of. We'll do this one first. I'm just actually going to take all of the capacitors off right away. I'm not going to do them one at a time. Since I've got the map up here, I can easily just pop all these guys off and then solder all the new ones on. It'll go a lot faster. And hey, we thought this was going to be just a simple recap, and you're going to get to see me put a chip back on and all that. Bonus score, man. Alright. Let's catch up to its heat. That's what I like about this little guy. It heats up real fast. Now, pliers here. Let's, how do I want to do this? I'm going to have to switch around. So this ought to be interesting. I'm trying to use the soldering iron with my left hand. Hey, there we go. Come on, just don't pull these pads off, please. We do not want to have to fix pads. Alright, we got that side on. Yeah, that's the way I want those guys to come off. Just like that. Alright, so I've got the chip and the other capacitors installed on that spot. Definitely not my greatest looking work on getting that chip back on, but the pads were pretty dirty and stuff, so I did my best to try to scrape everything I could off of them without destroying them. So, but all the pins are solid, everything's on there. I'm gonna do a couple little more cleanup things on the board here off camera. Then we'll get it over onto the teardown table and get everything put back together. Well, everything won't be put back together just yet. Like I said, we got to get that soundboard and that power board with the battery packs installed. So we'll do that in a few minutes. All right, so we got all the capacitors done. I've got the chip reinstalled onto the board. Let's get the rest of this taken apart. Let's get the soundboard, power board taken off here. We're going to have to do something about this corrosion here. I'm going to try sanding some of it down. Hopefully it'll look a little bit better. But let's get this stuff taken apart and get to it. There we go. Alright, that's the soundboard out. I'm just going to leave these screws right over here for the now. Let's get the power board out. And she should lift right out. There we go. Come on. Boy, that corrosion really did a number, boy. We gotta get these taken out of there. Alright, got the snippers. Gonna snip these power leads to the battery terminals in here. We're gonna yank those battery terminals out. And everything is out of this case, and I can try to clean it up some, get it looking decent, because this, like I said, this corrosion really did a number on this thing. Alright, let's get these snipped. That one, because we don't need these guys anymore. No, sir. Battery packs now, baby. Rechargeable. My brother would have loved this. Would have loved it. Alright. One power lead snipped. Alright. That is all the corrosion parts out of there. Now I've got some 180 grit sandpaper. I'm going to kind of sand some of that gnarly stuff down. There ain't too much more I can do about the other stuff, unfortunately. So let me grab that. An older piece here. Just going to kind of sand some of this down. Wow! Wow, wow, wow! I'm actually impressed here. It looks like maybe the corrosion didn't go all the way through the plastic. It might just be surface level. Cool beans. If that's the case, this is going to clean up really nice. I'm going to have to get something to kind of get into the corners with the sandpaper, but I might be able to actually clean this up really nice. That is awesome. That is awesome. Alright, I'm going to keep doing some elbow grease and sanding on this stuff. Let's get it looking nice again. Alright, so after a ton of sanding, I got most of the corrosion out. There is still some just a little bit in there in corners that I couldn't quite reach. So what I did is I sprayed a little bit of vinegar in there just to kind of neutralize it, so it ain't gonna do anything else. At some point, I'm gonna try to get some kind of tool, pop this thing back apart down the road, and try to get the rest of it out of there. But it's pretty good for now. I'm gonna kind of a close up. You can see. I mean, this thing was pretty bad, pretty bad. But one thing I did see, if I can get this in the camera, is you can actually see. Turn it this way so you can read it. It actually has the manufacturing date in there of May 6th, 1994. Criminy, that's a long time ago. Alright, so let's start getting things put back together here. Now, from when I hooked it up, it showed that those battery packs have some juice in them. So, got Sonic the Hedgehog here, my brother's favorite game of all time. Let's give her a shot and see what happens. Oh, all right. I don't even. I didn't clean the pins. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me go grab a game that I know is clean. One that tested on my other Game Gear, I know it worked. Well, we've got something going on here. All right, gonna have to pull her back apart. Get down and take a look at the board, see if I missed something. Check that chip again that I had to solder back down. Make sure all the pins are good and secure. And then we'll go from there. All right, back in a few. All right, so I got the new parts in. Had to get some diodes. And we got to change D1 through D4. So let's get cracking at it, because I really hope this will fix the problem, because I don't want to be chasing down a bunch of little components on here that could or could not be bad. Because if by that point I could just replace the board with a board from Retro 6 for like $50. So hopefully this will work, because I'd really like to keep this original equipment in here, you know. All right, so I've got the Game Gear put back together enough to test. I got a working game that I know works. So let's get her slid in here. Get that just flipped over. And now we're going to turn her over. All right, fingers crossed. Oh. And still the same deal. Yeah. That's kind of distressing. That's a bummer, because from the research I did after I did the recap on it and stuff, I know I've got that chip back on there good. I'm not questioning that. The soldering on the one side doesn't look the best, but those pins are solid. They're soldered on there. And from what I was reading before, the diodes could have been questionable. So after replacing them and that not being the case, I mean, the corrosion was pretty bad over here. So it could be a number of these little components giving me an issue. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a new board from Retro 6 and a new screen. It's kind of a bummer. I've got 2 videos now in a row where it didn't work out in the end, but you know, that's the name of the game with electronics, and especially ones this old that were pretty covered with corrosion. So, well, unfortunately, this is another episode where the repair just isn't working out at the end. I'm extremely bummed about that. This being a tribute to my brother, recapping his Game Gear and everything. But, electronics are electronics, and they don't always work out, especially ones that are this old and had that much corrosion on them. I have read, though, that if the Game Gears get corroded corrosion on the boards and stuff like that, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to bring it back to life. And it looks like this is going to be the case with this one. So I'm going to upgrade it for them. I'm going to put a new board in there, a new screen, so that'll be really nice. And then that'll be a part 2. Getting the parts ordered tonight, so you won't have to wait too long for that. Possibly another couple weeks to get the parts in and all that. And then we'll have that back together. Quick update on the 3DO. I know I promised a part 2 on that. That's going to come probably later during Christmas time. I'll get that emulator drive ordered for that, and then we'll get that put back together and stuff. I'm going to try to get some stuff crammed in for the holidays. But, oh, before I forget, I do have a Facebook page. So please go check that out. Just look up Shane's Soldering Station. I should pop up for you there. Follow me and kind of get to keep tabs on what's going on. I don't post daily, but I do post often. So you'll get to know when new episodes are getting worked on, or if I'm working on something just on the side. So anyways, that's all I've got for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.